Hi, welcome to Life After One, emPOWERme.tv, where we have guests on our show that are veterans who have an opportunity to share their experiences and challenges of coming home. I'm your host, Jeff Bornstein, along with my lovely co-host, Kimberly.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We've got two great guests today.
Two great guests today. We have Matt Kinser, right, and we have Darcy. I hope I'm saying his last name correct. Vernier.
Vernier, okay, all right, but let's talk a little bit about Darcy. Darcy, he was a Marine helicopter pilot during Vietnam, and he received 50 air medals. Wow, now that's impressive, isn't it?
50, wow.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But our first guest, let's talk about him. He was enlisted in the Army in 2006. He was deployed over to Afghanistan for 12 months. Please welcome Matt Kinser.
Matt, thanks for being on the show, buddy.
My pleasure, Jeff and Kimberly. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks you for being here. Cool. It's an honor to have you.
Wow.
So let's see, you went to Afghanistan for 12 months.
Correct. March 08 to March 09. We were originally slated for 15 months, and the unit we actually replaced was from the 82nd, and they were one of the last units to do 15 months. So during our whole deployment, we had, you know, is it going to be 12? Is it going to be 15? And of course.
So it wound up being 12.
Yes, luckily it wound up being 12.
And I'm sure the 82nd was probably busting your balls for that, right?
And then right? Exactly. Right. Yeah. They can keep the airborne. We get the air assault, so it's okay.
So were you air assault? Were you airborne?
We were 101st Airborne Division. Air assault is the premier light infantry air assault division. However, we still carry the airborne patch as a homage to all the veterans from World War II, Vietnam, and so on.
Very
cool.
You
were in Campbell, right?
Cool.
Yes, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Yeah.
Well, before we go into all of that, I want to ask him, though, I want to start at the beginning. Let's go all the way back. What made you sign up to join the Army?
I would say it was a bunch of self-proclaimed failures. I really, it really started out when I was in middle school. I started reading about World War II, specifically like Stephen Ambrose books, and I remember, you know, doing a really nice thing, walking across the Washington Mall with my dad and just hearing how smart he was talking about war stuff. But, you know, stuff that I never even heard him talk about. And then from that day forward, I started getting, you know, 600-page book after World War II, everything from covering the European theater of operations to Pacific theater. So that, like, I started engulfing myself in historical war, even go back to, you know, Vietnam.
You were just trying to get your hands on everything that you could.
It's chaos, and I think it's the phenomenal thing that you get from war is you try to create order out of chaos, and it's just something that clearly throughout history, which I'm a huge proponent of, have done it in every civilization, every walk of life. So war is in a sense in our nature, unfortunately as it sounds, but I just had the opportunity to take part in one.
So you're reading these books, and was that kind of a driving force? And were you living vicariously before you went in? You're like, you know, and then you got in, you're like, it wasn't like this, or, oh, it is like that.
It was, I think by the time I was maybe 13 to 18, I really didn't, I thought of the military, but I wanted to play sports. And that's one reason why I say I was self-proclaimed failure. When I was, after high school, I didn't do well in school, so I went to community college. I played football. First year I did well. Second year, I tore my shoulder. And then I went to practice again. I ended up tearing it. It popped out twice. Then my career was done. I went surgery, and then I was out of school. I dropped out, and then I decided, you know what, it's time. And I enlisted in 2006, and that was actually one of the greatest trips I did. After I enlisted, like a week after, my dad and I went to tour Normandy, so D-Day. So every beach we saw, and it was absolutely
How
breathtaking.
historical is that?
To go on Omaha and see the scenes where my favorite movie, Saving Private Ryan, was shot. It's an absolutely unbelievable experience.
But to go with your dad, too.
Yeah.
Now, you're MOS, you were in 11 Bravo, correct?
Correct, infantry.
Right. So you're jumping out of planes, or you're fast roping?
Driving.
Driving?
Yeah. Fort Campbell doesn't want to tell you that their premier air assault unit is trucking, is driving. So we drove big, huge MRAP trucks, and I was a driver. Wow. So, yeah.
So that's like those big trucks that like you see coming down the highway?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you were in 2000, what year was it?
2008 to 2009.
Do you know by chance, this is a reach, do you know Command Sergeant Major Foster by chance? That name ring a bell?
Yes,
yeah,
Sergeant Major Foster.
He's our dear friend.
Yeah, he's still at Fort Campbell, I think. He was actually,
he was in Campbell, then he went to Fort Irwin,
and
then went back to Campbell.
Wow.
We were,
actually, our Sergeant Major, he was not a Command Sergeant Major, but he was Sergeant Major.
Right.
Oh,
he was a cool guy.
Now he's a Command Sergeant Major.
Right.
We love
and he's back at Campbell again.
All right.
Yeah.
Probably, hopefully leading a good
He's actually got a battalion now.
Nice. He's a good dude.
He's a
really
guy.
good guy.
Very cool.
We love them.
So you get out of the Army, and we were talking before the show. You were struggling with looking for work,
Yeah.
right? But before we touch on that, you were in Afghanistan, correct?
Yes.
And did you see anything that maybe changed your life? Any life-changing situations?
I wouldn't say it was one specific incident. It was more of a culmination of everything, and also how the Army sets forth to handle your situation you're in. So it's very, it's very by the moment. So like someone said before, you have all your life, that's why it's called post-traumatic, so it's after it. So after you experience something, you still have a very little amount of time handling it, but you're already on to the next possibly traumatic thing. Yes. So it's very like, okay, and humans in general are very slow attention span, so it's like, okay, now I have to worry about this, and that's what I saw. But I'd say the hardest thing I saw was a little kid that was probably 3 years old. She was going up a hill, and I could see, like, how people walk on a
walker.
Yeah, the things where you have a broken leg.
Crutches.
Yes, crutches.
Okay.
But she was walking like that, but she had no crutches. And it was up a hill, and then I see that they have the man dresses on to cover their entire body, and I just see one foot moving. You can clearly see an outline of a foot, and the other leg is a stump. And I saw her from a while away, and what I did is I was in my truck, and we were at a patrol outside a village, and there was no one around. I just had myself and my gunner, and I just said, hey, I'm walking out there, and I walked with a bottle of water and a bag of M&Ms that I got with my MREs, which I don't like MREs. I don't like MREs and don't like M&Ms. So
Let me tell you something better than C rations. Okay?
And I took her and gave her a bottle of water, and she didn't know how to open it.
So she probably never seen bottled water.
The simple concept of lefty loosey, righty tighty, like must
No
have not.
concept.
And that was, to me, seeing that simple act was like, I am in a completely different era. It's
like a
literally
different world.
astounding. It is.
Third world.
It's a different world.
There were some villagers that asked if we were Russian.
They really thought
yes.
you were from
Yeah.
Russia? Wow.
Because they thought the war with Russia was still going on. I mean, we were in Kandahar for 4 months, and we were on the border with Pakistan, East Paktika province. So we were to where it was beyond tribal, to the point where they don't consider themselves Afghans. They consider themselves part of their tribe. And that goes on right into the border of Pakistan, to where, we constantly got fired upon and rocketed upon and kind of attacked from, the sanctuary across the border. And it was just, it was...
It had to be so surreal.
It was.
Wow.
It was.
So you get out of the Army, and you have all these medals. Which, by the way, you got a great shot of your uniform. Where's that shot?
I know he sent us this picture. Well, as a civilian, I was just like, "This is the coolest picture. I want to share this."
Though. Right. Before the deployment, that's nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, I was an E2 when I went in, but you get my most proud thing is the blue cord on the right arm and the
That's
CIB.
overseas. Yeah.
No,
So that's what that
the blue
means?
cord is the infantry. It's
That's like
infantry.
right here.
Oh, is it?
on my
Okay.
shoulder?
Yeah, and then the one over my left heart is a CIB, which only infantrymen can get that.
Nice.
And so that's probably my proudest thing, because it shows it was,
CIB is a big deal, man.
Yeah, it is.
It is a big deal,
It's a
right?
great picture. I love
Yeah.
it.
So you're out and you're transitioning into the real world.
Yeah.
And,
What was that like?
Having a problem finding a job, and you had a little bit of PTSD you're talking about?
I would say that goes in hand with just how I conduct myself with other people, because I know there's a stigma, and unfortunately it has how many people would like to say they're supportive of veterans. I think it's a blanket statement. I think they mean well, but we haven't got to the point where, well, what does that mean, and how could we help an individual troop or veteran as opposed to society as a whole?
When you say they, you're talking about
The VA and
the
the
VA, you're talking
government's
about people in general.
Yeah, I think both. One feeds the other, because clearly people in general are part of the VA, but they have a much more intimate relationship with veterans, and it's it's.
Are you getting the help that you need from the VA, or have you gone to the VA? Are you using any benefits?
I did get my benefits. I was actually very fortunate that I got all that handled pretty much by the time I got out of the Army, because I was med boarded because I had a really bad back, and so I actually just got out right as my ETS date came. So it just so happens, by that time I was doing all this medical stuff. All my packer was already in by the stuff I claimed, so the VA got it, and within a year I got.
So you had a good experience with the VA, is what you're saying?
Yes, for the most part. Yeah.
Okay. And what about taking advantage? You said that you're looking for work. Are you using your GI Bill at all?
Yeah.
No, so I took advantage. I got out in October of 2010, and I went back to school, went to Santa Monica College.
Oh, good for you.
Around 18 months from early 11 to mid 2012, and then I got my grades up and transferred to Columbia University.
That's
so
fantastic.
I went to New York. I
Good
transferred
for
there. I
you.
did my GI Bill, and I recently graduated in May in film studies. So movies.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So-
So, what are you looking for? What kind of work are you
anything
wanting to do?
So you mentioned movies. You want to be an actor?
Is that what you want to do?
I
or-
don't think I have the I don't want to act. I think I want to tell stories. I
Okay.
want to, because I think for me right now personally, I've actually conducting 2 scripts, one based on my experience in Afghanistan and one based transition, not necessarily out of the Army, but back in Afghanistan.
You should talk to our next veteran coming, Darcy. He's written 3 books.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they're on. We're going to be talking about. If you hang out, you'll be able to hear it.
Yeah.
Wonderful books. He's a Vietnam veteran, and I mean, 50 air medals.
Yeah, that's
come on, man.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
wow, right?
That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And 3 distinguished crosses. Right.
Whoa, that's
I know, right?
that's something.
Right.
That's a
pretty
whole new
awesome.
ball game. So,
But we have a wonderful organization that we work with, and it's called.
We'd like to hook you up with them too.
And
That'd
check.
be
It's called WeHireHeroes.us.
Got it.
And we'll give you some information on that.
Yeah.
You go to the website, and they have a plethora of jobs across the U.S. And they also have another website called CivilianBootCamp.com that coaches veterans on how to find jobs and find a career. So I'm sure there's anything from
Yeah.
if you wanted to work, not that this is your where you aspire to be, but in a McDonald's, all the way up to maybe being a writer, writing a novel, whatever it is.
yeah,
Oh,
Burger
sure.
King though.
Burger King.
Actually, In and Out. This is California. It's In and
Can't
Out.
have it your way, man. Okay. Right? But I got to tell you, you've got a wonderful story, and you're
really
one of the
do.
few that I admire all of our veterans. But for someone to break away and know what you want to do, even though you don't have a job, that's rare because a lot of guys, we talk about TBI and we talk about suicide, and a lot of these guys don't realize that there's help out there. So we're grateful to have you on this show, man.
I really appreciate it. It was definitely a great experience.
Anything
and
you want to share with maybe the other veterans?
Yeah, that we
are-
didn't cover.
that we didn't cover on the show
Yeah,
right now?
that you want to
I
talk
would
about.
say, if anything, the one thing I think when people get out of the military and get out of the army, any in general, any part of service, is that camaraderie. I mean, from the day before you sign, you're still part of a unit. You still have to show up to formation. And the moment, what I noticed when I got out, the moment you get your papers signed and you leave the base, it's done. It's absolutely done. You're no longer part of that life anymore. But now, thanks to social media and things like Facebook and stuff like this, you can talk with people who have been through the same thing. So I would say, keep your battle buddies there. Keep them apprised, and just know that people care, and your veterans care, and your buddies and your family care. And that's, I think, one of the most important things is that no matter what you think, you're most likely wrong because someone very dear to you cares. And what I would say is, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. And really, really just look out for each other.
Good words.
Strong words from a strong man. Hey,
Yeah,
buddy,
that's
thanks for
really
being
good.
on our show, and thank you for your service, buddy.
Really appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much,
Yeah,
Matt.
so
Thank
good
you.
to meet you.
Thank you.
Folks, up next, he was a Marine helicopter pilot in Vietnam. You don't want to miss this story. This is a great one. Stay tuned. We've got more Life After War coming up on emPOWERme.tv.
Hi, my name is Randy Gastrick, and I'm a retired Petty Officer 3rd Class in the U.S. Navy. I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Rory Lasik, actively serving right now also in the U.S. Navy. You're watching Life After War on emPOWERme.tv.
Hey, old Air Force Sergeant Price with a proud shout out to my brave son, Army Chief Warrant Officer 2, Miles Price, stationed in the ever-lovely Camp Humphrey in South Korea. And you, my friend, are watching Life After War on emPOWERme.tv.
Hey, welcome to Life After War on emPOWERme.tv. We're just having a fun little conversation here. Don't mind me, but mind her. Yes, dear.
Start
Oh
over,
boy,
honey.
we invite veterans on this show. This is kind of a bittersweet because this is our last show our last veteran, if you will, for season 2, and looking forward to season 3. But
We sure are. It's going to be fun.
and we had some wonderful vets on our show.
You know, they had some really great stories, and you know what? I really learned a lot about all of our men and women that are veterans.
Learned a lot
during these.
and we're going to learn a lot
seasons.
more from our next guest,
Yep.
who just blew me out of the water. But this show is about veterans who have an opportunity to go ahead and share their challenges and their experiences of what it was like, what happened, life after war right now. And our next guest is...
Yep, our next guest today, he was a Marine helicopter pilot during Vietnam, and he was awarded 3 DFCs and 50 air medals. He's a flight instructor, and he's also an actor. Please welcome Darcy Vernier.
Hey, there you go. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you
welcome,
very much.
Darcy.
When we first got, I was 3 DFCs, I'm like, what? How do you get that? I know how you get it. I'm just saying, how do you get that?
It was quite amazing.
You just do your job.
Go places where people don't want to go,
Right,
or
you
you've
do
got
your job.
Marines hurt on the ground. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only reason we had helicopters, is take care of the guys on the ground.
You do your job.
Yeah.
Wow, and you did it well.
Yeah, you did,
Wow.
to get that many awards.
It was a certain amount of luck, but it was a good airplane, and I was very highly trained. And
What were you flying?
CH-46s.
Okay.
I should say the late CH-46s. They decommissioned the last one at the Smithsonian Institution
Is that like
on the 31st.
Is that like a cargo? Is it like looks like kind of like the C-130 or?
No, it's helicopter.
It's the.
I think it's a helicopter.
Okay, so
Okay, the Army has the big C-47, the Chinook.
shouldn't double prop.
Yeah,
Right.
the
Okay.
H-46 looks like it, about 3/4 the size. Only the Marine Corps used it in Vietnam the same way the Army used the Huey.
Okay.
Wow.
Basically did all the work.
Well, Darcy, let's go all the way back to the beginning, okay? What made you join the Marines?
I don't really know. I kind of pushed my way through most of my friends who were protesting having recruiters on campus at American University. And I walked up and said, "You got airplanes?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Sign me up."
Nice.
And it was, I mean, it's not like it came from a Marine family or anything. There was.
So was just flying maybe like a passion of yours or something? Did
Yeah, I
you want
used
to
to-
do that?
I
Or?
was a little kid who used to hang on the fence at the airport
Nice.
and watch what was going on with it. And like I said, I don't know exactly why I did it, but I've never regretted it.
It's fantastic. Great story.
So you're in Vietnam, right? And you're doing your job. You're flying in and flying out and getting these guys. Now you got 3 DFCs, but how do you get 350 air medals? What does that mean?
50 air medals.
Yeah. What does that mean?
That's more of just doing the job every day. They based it on the number of flights you had, and then those worked up. And I never took a desk job or anything else. I just kept flying the whole time.
So was it just like constantly you would go in and you would, basically you were saving these guys, like, and then you would go in and get them and they go back?
Yeah, with the air medals too, if you're hauling the mail or doing resupplies or stuff that, is not so much.
Still in a hot zone, obviously.
Not taking the mail in. I mean, we were all the transportation. We were kind of the big trucks for that.
So basically you were just like kind of bringing stuff here and there, like to the different stations. Is
Yeah,
that
and-
basically what they're called?
And we did all the medevacs and recon stuff was done that. I did a fair amount of that, so. Which I preferred it. It's more interesting than flying.
Sure. So, right. So, there's a lot of, you get back from the Army and you have.
Marine Corps.
Who's in the Marines?
Be very careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Whopping her 2 o'clock. So you get out of the Corps, right?
There you are.
And how's my acting? Right. You get out of the Corps, and you have all this experience as a pilot, and you go into. Well, let me ask you. I'm sure you're rescuing babies. Our heroes, if you will. And did you see anything that maybe as you came out that maybe gave you anything that changed your life?
Not as a specific thing. I mean, there was always stuff going on. I think I've learned in recent years how much of it I buried.
Really?
But I got out and I was a commodity broker for 20 years. I didn't fly at all. And then I got back into flying in Hawaii with Aloha Island Airlines, flying Twin Otters, which is a bush plane.
Nice.
And then I took that and I worked for the UN in the Sudan during the Sudanese Civil War, and then in Algeria. I think it was kind of a adrenaline rush trying to recreate some of that stuff. But
You're the second Vietnam veteran that we've had on the show, and I asked this to the other vet, and I'd like to get your perspective on it because, you know, there's three sides, his, theirs, and what really happened. Did you find or did you experience as a Vietnam veteran when you got out getting spit on and getting, you know, poo-pooed on and all that stuff?
No.
You didn't
See,
ever feel
I'd
that?
already been to college. So I just was out, I was out in the working world. It was in Washington, D.C., which, you know, they had big protests, but there wasn't the individual thing. The guys that really went through that were the ones who came out of high school, went in the service, and then went to colleges. So they're there with, they're 4 or 5 years older than the other students.
Oh, I see. So there was that age gap.
Yeah, and an experience gap, too. I mean, a kid got an 18-year-old compared to a 22, 23-year-old with combat experience are vastly different people.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they're the ones, I never had any kind of harassment or anything.
So you did like your college before you even went into the Marines, right?
Yeah,
you did all of that
at the time. You
before.
had to have a college degree to get commissioned,
Oh,
To be an
okay.
officer.
and you had to be commissioned if you wanted to fly airplanes. So
Were you,
Gotcha.
what rank
Okay.
were you when you got out?
captain when I got out.
Okay, all right,
Awesome.
nice. And so obviously you used what you learned. Other than being a pilot, did you have any? Was there any other crossover in the Army? We call it MOS. Marines, what do they call it? Your job description?
MOS, same
It is an
thing.
MOS.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Military
Navy they call it
occupations,
something
definitely.
else. But did you have any other crossover training other than a pilot? And if
Not
so,
really.
did you take that?
We had collateral duties of things we had to do, and I was the intelligence officer at one point, which meant I did nothing.
I was MI myself, so I hear you.
I had a gunny sergeant working for him, and he said, "Lieutenant, if you ever have anything to do, I'm not doing my job." So
Nice, nice. So you're out in the real world, and did you have any problems looking for a job, finding a job when you got out?
no, I got hired by Ross Perot, who he had a brokerage firm at the time, and he
He's
hired
from
him.
Texas, right?
Yeah,
He lives in
yeah.
Texas.
I was in D.C. though. He was hiring people for his brokerage firm, and he liked military people, and he was Naval Academy, and I think it was Naval Academy. Anyway, most of the people in there, when I went into their first training class, which was held here in L.A., I knew half the people in the class, either
Oh,
from,
wow.
either from
Well,
flight
that's
school or
cool.
Vietnam or the Marine Corps or something like that.
So it's kind of like a reunion whenever you went to the class, right?
pretty much.
What are you guys doing
But
now?
he went out of business. I worked for a number of other firms that went out of business. I don't think it was my fault, but brokerage firms kind of.
Sure.
So, and also too, I know you shared some pictures with us with all of your family and everything. You kind of have a large family. You have like 3 kids, don't you?
I do have 3 kids.
3
Those
kids.
Yeah.
pictures are, you can see them right here. This is,
Great
tell us who,
pictures.
this
Okay,
is you.
Who's
And
this?
that's my wife, and that's our adopted son.
Nice.
okay.
And he's currently a junior at Drexel University in Philadelphia.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Came from
Great
here,
picture.
born and raised in California,
California.
and went to Drexel in Philadelphia for the worst 2 winters they've ever had. So
Oh my goodness.
Are you a California native as well?
I was born here. I didn't grow up here, though.
Okay. Okay.
I was born in Palo Alto.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I spent the rest of it in Montana and then went to high school in Brazil.
Brazil.
What was
not
that
too shabby.
like?
Every 15-year-old from the Midwest should go to Brazil.
Honey, you're a little over 15. You might be 18, but she's from Oklahoma, so you should go. Right.
I'm sure they'd welcome you.
Right. But then again, never mind. Different show. So you have a couple books, 3 books that are out.
I know,
do?
yeah.
Tell us about those books, and we
They're on
got them here.
Amazon.com. We checked.
Look at these wonderful books. And by the way, they're only on Kindle, I believe. Is that
Right.
correct? Okay.
They're Kindle. They're also, you can get them online at Barnes & Noble and most of the outlets that do ebooks.
Okay.
So how could they find them? They just like Google your name.
Google my name or Google the name of the book.
I was
Okay.
looking on the inside of them, and some of them are, all 3 of them are based on real events, but fiction and nonfiction, kind of crossover, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the first one.
Okay, which one's up there
Can we
first?
bring that back up here?
Savage Wars of Peace is about a relief pilot in the Sudan and Africa during the Civil War there. A lot of it is true, other than the wonderful relationship and the wonderful romance, which I did not have when I was there, but you know, it's
Sure.
Sacrificial Novel is just a pure novel about an attempt to assassinate the Pope.
Wow.
That my character had come out of jail and he was down and out, and a kind of a Boski kind of guy hires him to shoot the Pope because the Pope's trying to get rid of the modernization of the Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic, and
I think it's kind of happening right now.
Yeah, well, there's some of that, I guess. Yeah,
Again, a different show.
yeah. The second wagon driver I wrote in Vietnam.
Oh wow.
And I didn't look at it until about 5 years ago. I'd open it up and I couldn't
You couldn't look at it?
put it back away again.
Why is that?
Just didn't want to. I mean, it was
wanna
chewing on me.
You wrote it, but you didn't want to relive it again. But yes,
I didn't want to involve myself with it. I mean, it was going to be, it's not a shoot 'em up. It's not, you know, or I saw this horrible thing or that horrible thing. It's just more of a, almost confessional of just how I was thinking and feeling at the time.
So you were kind of
like a
getting it out.
diary.
You were getting it out on paper to
yeah,
get it
except
out.
then I just fictionalized it with some of the characters and some of the events.
Wow. Was
Well,
that in
probably
any
good
way
that you did
therapeutic for you to kind of purge and get it out?
Well, actually, I was able to go and work with it after I had started seeing the VA people about PTSD.
Okay. When were you diagnosed with PTSD, by the way?
About 3-4 years ago, I guess.
Wow.
I wish I'd gone 30 years before.
Yeah.
Well, you were diagnosed with it 3 or 4 years ago, but you knew something was wrong when you got out. You just kind of didn't deal with it. Yes.
You just kind of really didn't know, or you didn't think about it, or?
Didn't know, wasn't aware of it.
Are you getting?
There was also a thing, I kind of didn't want to go talk to the VA because I had friends. I knew a guy who had 100% disability for an injury in Vietnam. He threw his shoulder out playing softball.
Okay.
And I knew other people who I knew had never seen fire or combat and were getting these big checks from the VA. And I thought, well, I don't want to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And then I got something there talking about PTSD and VA people, and I went down there and just ended up talking to them. Eventually, I was able to look at this and use that as a basis for writing it, or rewriting it, basically.
So you're using your benefits, obviously, and
Yeah, there's some benefits there, yeah.
very good, because there's a lot of guys we talk about, as you have seen on past shows. There are veterans that are not aware of the GI Bill, the VA benefits, and the health benefits, and it seems like every vet that we've spoken to on this show, anyway, has been aware, which is great. But think of the ones that are out there right now that
just don't know, or they don't
they're
know where
afraid,
to go.
They're afraid to go
Yeah.
and go to the VA to get the help.
I got out of the Marine Corps in 1972, and I wish at that time I walked into a VA center, and my life might have been much different than some of the ups and downs I've gone through in my life. My life kind of looks like a pork belly chart, you know, it's
Yeah.
all over the place. And a lot of that was due to, I think, some of the emotional stuff that I brought back.
Through the PTSD.
Yeah.
So you got past you got past that, and you're an actor now.
I'm a flight instructor now.
Flight instructor. Where do I thought I heard you said you had to do something with acting, or
We had something
Oh, yeah,
about acting.
yeah.
What was that?
I have an agent. I go to auditions a lot.
audition? Okay.
That's
This is not an audition,
fantastic.
by the way. Okay.
I'm out here.
Well, you're doing. Bottom line is you're doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
Right. That's great. I mean, we have these wonderful
great.
organizations that can help veterans. We hire heroes.us, and not that that's what you would need, but if there's anything that we didn't talk about on the show here today, and you can maybe help another veteran, maybe give them direction, because you said, I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
Just like back in '72 when you said you didn't go to the VA. Maybe you can give
Tell our
somebody some
viewers.
advice. Say, hey, look, you better go now and not wait.
Look in the camera over my shoulder and
Okay.
tell them
You help somebody.
your thoughts and your feelings.
Get your butt down to the VA. Even though you think you can handle it yourself, and even though you're a tough guy or a Marine or a recon guy or whatever, you aren't as tough as you think. Don't let these things chew on you for years and years and years. Just go in there and talk to somebody. They're not going to get in your face. They're friendly people.
They're there to help.
But
right?
go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
From a guy with
fantastic.
3 DFCs and 50 air medals,
Listen to that advice.
it's been an honor having you on our show. It really has.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much for your service, Darcy.
Yes, thanks, Darcy.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for
Thank you.
being with us. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning into these last 2 seasons. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve again. And we look forward to serving you again next time on Life After War on emPOWERme.tv.